Ladies and gentlemen, this is the February meeting of the Planning Board for the 4th. I will entertain a motion that we open the meeting.
I'll make a motion to open this February meeting of the Southampton Village Planning Board.
I second it.
Aye?
Aye.
4 votes, okay.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, tonight we have a first item on our agenda is Southampton Town newspapers on Windmill Lane on an extension to later this year. And I assume there's a letter I haven't seen because I didn't see it earlier today.
Has this even been on the agenda prior to this meeting?
No, this is the first time it's
This is
been on the
brand new.
agenda.
Remember, we approved the
This was not
you
here.
know what this is brand new to us.
Well, this is the board had previously granted
They're building a garage, and we went through all the hearings, and we
Right.
approved everything.
right, so this is a request for an extension of that approval based upon the fact that they have yet to obtain permission from the health department
Go it's
and
for
the
help.
owner otherwise for economic.
They're up against a deadline and they just want to extend
Correct.
it.
Okay.
So I see no reason for the good
No, that's
cause
fine.
demonstrated here that it should not be granted. And by the way, your December 2019 meeting will be on December 2nd.
Thank you.
So I make a motion at the request of the applicant to grant them an extension to the meeting of December 2nd, 2019.
To and including December 2nd, 2019.
And can we make it, because it's for the health board,
For good cause, Sean.
good cause, general good cause? I mean,
Yes.
we're getting it from you. You think it's
Yes.
the health part?
Well, several issues, but for good cause. It's not a superfluous
For
request.
good cause, okay. Seconded?
Second.
Okay. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, Donahue Silvich, this I thought was done too, so I guess there's this is 6 months. This has to do with conditions. Okay, we have covenants involved and beloved Department of Health, I guess, are the 2 reasons on this one. I thought this was finished, so again, we need a
A
motion that we
motion
extend it.
to, at the request of the applicant, Donahue and Silva's 32 and 42 Post Crossing, to extend their application to the
August
Yeah, to-
2000.
This would be
August.
August 5.
August 5, 2019.
Okay. Seconded?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, the next matter has been scheduled for a public hearing, and this is Beechwood Latch on Hill Street. We have our advisor on this here, Patrick Cleary, and we will open the public meeting. Zach has to go and have a smoke or do something like that. He's recused himself from this matter, which started long before he was on the board, and so the 3 of us will hear what's involved. Counselor
Good
Bill
evening.
Martin, nice to have you back, sir.
Nice to be back.
Okay,
For the
what's up?
applicant, David Gilmartin Jr., Fowl Fritz, 50 Station Road, Watermill, New York. Here tonight.
Excuse me, Alan, you have to officially declare the public meeting open.
Did we take a vote on it?
No, just
No, I said we're
announce
having a
it.
public meeting. Okay, this is a public meeting. I thought I did, sorry.
Okay.
Indirect, officially, it is a public meeting. on the
Hearing,
latch.
public hearing.
This day,
Public hearing.
Hearing.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So again, David Gilmartin, Fowl Fritz, 50 Station Road, Watermill, New York. For the applicant, we also have Michael and Stephen Dubb, who are the principals. We also have members of our team from VHB, so hopefully we can answer any questions. We're here tonight on a site plan application. We went through the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have relief for the plan as you see it today, and that was issued in July of 2017. So again, we're here for the site plan. First of all, I think it's important that we go back through the history of this and the process that we went through before this board. We submitted an application on March 27th, and you first heard and saw the application April 4 of 2016. On July 5th, this board confirmed lead agency status and adopted a positive declaration and scheduled a scoping session. You had that scoping session on August 1st, and on September 6th, he adopted a scope. And that scope is important because that's what was in the DEIS and the FEIS. It's what you studied. And if you look closely at the parts of the SECRA, you'll see that there's a lot of overlap between the SECRA and the site plan. So the scope of our particular document, we studied the soils and topography, the surface and groundwater resources, flora and fauna, aesthetic resources, cultural resources, land use and zoning, transportation, which is traffic, utilities and site infrastructure, community facilities, socioeconomic and fiscal, construction, green buildability, and sustainability. We put in a DEIS on October of 2016, and on January 3rd of 2017, you deemed that complete. On March 6th, a public hearing was held on the DEIS. June 2017, an FEIS was submitted. August 7th, a revised FEIS was submitted, and on September 5th of 2017, you adopted a finding statement. That finding statement overwhelmingly supported the original application that we had submitted. In that finding statement, you made what I think are 6 really important findings. First of all, with respect to traffic, you said there'd be no significant adverse traffic impacts will result as a result of the application. There are 4 less units that are before you today than were before you at the time that you made that finding. With respect to surface and groundwater, you said the project is protective of groundwater and off-site surface water resources. I think this is the most important finding that you had as part of the FEIS, and I think when you hear from VHB what is going to happen, the benefit to both the groundwater and surface water resources are startling. Today there is no capture of rainwater whatsoever on the site, and you'll hear a number, again, which I think is somewhere in the 145 to 150,000 gallons of water that come off this property and
I
go.
gotta turn that heat off. Sorry. I'm asking who owns the remote so we can turn the heat off.
Thank you, John. Excuse us, Counselor.
Sorry, really sorry.
That's okay. So
Okay,
again,
discussing water, I'm with
yeah,
you. Thank you.
the water capture on site, the stormwater runoff is somewhere in the neighborhood of 150,000 gallons during a 2-inch storm. That is coming off the site and headed, for the most part, toward Agawam. We will capture everything on site. You won't have that problem whatsoever. So this application will result in a deep protection of Agawam. We'll also protect the groundwater, our drinking water resources as well, and you'll hear about that. You found that there are no adverse visual or aesthetic resources, right? So through the landscaping plan, we've been able to screen ourselves from our neighbors and significantly from the street, so there's going to be no impact there. Cultural resources, that's really the historic resources are on the site. And there's a significant change that you'll hear from VHB, but the Village Latch building, we had proposed to move up approximately 80 feet. That is staying in its current site under the current application. So while you said there will be no negative impact, even though we were moving it, we are now not moving it. So I think that certainly holds true. The land use and zoning, again, you said there'd be no adverse impacts. And the fiscal analysis, again, there's a significant positive impact here from what the property currently generates in property taxes to what will happen in the future, and we'll get some information on that. So that was your FEIS. Those were your findings with respect to this application. After that finding statement, we went to the ZBA for for our application to get the setback relief and the change from one non-conforming use to another. Went through that process from September of 2017 through July of 2018, and we got all the relief necessary to be able to site this project in its current location. So that brings us to today. Why are we here? We're here to get site plan approval. We've been through all of those processes. And what does your code say about the site plan process? What do you have to consider? If you look at 11638 of your zoning code, you have to consider traffic access, interior circulation and parking, landscaping and screening, existing development in the master plan, natural and cultural features, pavement, lighting, facades, drainage, public utilities, public address or sound system, handicap access, and energy conservation. Those are the things, the limited things that you look at now to consider this site plan. That being said, I will bring up Courtney Riley from VHB, who will go through the site plan, give you the inside and outside analysis. And we also have Bob Eschbacher from VHB, who is our traffic consultant, who will talk about the interior circulation, the access, and the parking on site. And then we have our landscape architect and our team, and we'll try and answer any questions that you have. So I ask Courtney to come forward.
Good evening, Courtney Riley, VHB Engineering, 100 Motor Parkway, Suite 135, Hauppauge, New York.
Thank you.
So we are looking at the two.
This is you.
Yes, that is us. That is us. So I think I could be loud enough to talk
I've been
without
reading it for a
behind.
while. Thank
You
you.
don't need the microphone from the podium, there's a microphone on the table.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so tonight we're going to discuss the differences between what you saw in 2017
Okay.
to what you're seeing now in 2019. And the memo that was provided to you last month on January 4th that Mr. Cleary did was great. It gave pretty much everything that we're going to go through today. So I'm going to summarize what he said, as well as added some additional commentary on the things that we went through SECRA. So off the bat, the biggest thing is the unit count. We went from 24 units down to 19 units, and this does not include the Terry Cottage. So on the previous application, the Terry Cottage was going to be split up into 2 units. It is now going to be a single-family home. The latch,
I think, if I'm right with last, Patrick, you said we basically are excluding that. And if it's
correct,
I forget
sir.
the words that Patrick used, or
Correct. It's actually
Attorney
being
Gilmartin
excluded
used,
from
which
the
is,
application.
it's not part of, it's a family home, it's going to be, it's out of it. There's a footnote that says they may, I guess, get their lawn cut eventually by the property owners
Potentially be
association,
part of the HOA.
but they're out of it.
Correct.
So for purposes of a decision which we got to make, we're regarding the rest of it as what's before us.
Understood.
Just remember that the access to the Terry
It
Cottage
comes
is
in the
coming.
middle and goes in behind it.
Yeah,
It no longer has the driveway on the left. Yeah, no, we saw physically what the subtraction looked like. Thank you.
So as you can see in the proposed application, that is now on a separate tax lot. And they do have a entrance that is now going to be closed because, as stated previously, they're going to be coming off the main entrance. The latch, which was going to be 3 units, is now down to 2. The overall square gross floor area was upwards of over 100,000 square feet in the previous application. It is now 61,375 square feet, and this excludes Terry Cottage again. So you can see that we're already greatly reducing not only the impervious area, but the scope of the project. One of the biggest changes I think you'll see is on the access, and this was really taken into account for the scenic view of Hill Street. When you drive down, and I'm sure you guys did today, you see the latch and you see Terry Cottage, and you don't see much past that. And what we've done is we now placed this roadway in the center and we curved it. And with that alignment and with landscaping down along of it, we are anticipating that you will not see this application from Hill Street. The prior application had a roadway that was actually on either end of the parcel. And while those were existing entrances and exits, they're awfully close to the property lines. And typically, as you know, in proposed developments, we try to get it towards the center to get it away from the other developed properties. This access that was located originally was actually taking out a lot of landscaping. When you go to the site, you're going to see an intense amount of landscaping along this area now that we are keeping and maintaining. There was also 4 garages, so a part of that square footage included these 4 private garages, which are no longer. All the garages are going to be actually in the units. As we've gone through the Zoning Board of Appeals, one of the other things that we did was we pushed back from the side yards the 35 feet. So in the prior application, you can see the residences are a lot closer, and now in this, all the residences are behind on the 35 feet, and that's on the sides as well as the rear. Another application difference is in the rear, there were 4 units, and now we're down to 3 units. The 4 units had over 150 feet of building facing these 2 rear properties, where now we're just over 100 feet. The lot coverage in total went from 24% down to 19.5%. And the clubhouse, which was originally located in the center with the pool, would have been facing Hill Street, is now back towards the vacant village land. The clubhouse itself was also reduced in square footage. The landscaping. So as there's landscaping today, again, with this 35 feet, we're able to bring in a lot more of the existing vegetation that we didn't have before. And this aerial, you'll see, can show what that existing vegetation will remain. There's also a hedge located, and there's a landscaping on the adjacent properties that also help this.
There's a lot of under-tended trees. Not a
So-
few, but a lot. It's a real forest. I assume you're going to start over.
So what we've done on our landscaping plan is we have a double row of evergreen trees. And that double row gives us that staggered look. They're going to be installed along the sides and in the rear. What we tried to do is take into account the existing vegetation as well on the other properties. And you have to do that because a lot of that existing vegetation has a good root system, and the last thing we want to do is install new plantings that would impede anybody else's landscaping. And there is, mature landscaping on the other parcels. From a parking standpoint, the parking was reduced from 74 parking spaces down to 66 parking spaces, but the ratio per unit goes up. So before, because we had additional units at 24 units, we were at a 3.08 per unit. Now we're almost at 3.5 per unit. So we've increased the parking spaces per unit. And both plans exceed the village requirement of 2.0 parking spaces.
Can I just interrupt and ask why you increased the parking?
So the parking is based on, there's a garage, and everyone has a driveway. And what we were able to do is create parking by the clubhouse and visitor parking. There's no parking, we went through the fire marshal's office already, there's no parking actually allowed on the street. But we wanted to create these separate parcels, separate parking, so if people did have visitors, that they weren't going onto the street.
Right. It's just, I know we're trying to keep things green, that's all. So if you're going excessive parking, it doesn't seem to make sense to me, that's all.
That was one of the issues that came up during the zoning board. How would we accommodate any parking on site over and above what was happening there? So that was, part of that process, and that's why we came out to 66.
So when we get into our grading and drainage design, we're about 1,400 feet away from Agawam. And as the village knows, with what we're dealing with over there, it was important for us to not only keep all the drainage on site, but make sure that we were handling more than obviously was existing today. So as previously stated, there is no drainage. And right now, you have over 1,900 cubic feet, which is 141,000 gallons of stormwater that actually leaves this site today and goes into the roadway systems on village roads, which then, obviously is impacted and goes into Lake Agawam. This current site plan captures all of that. In fact, we capture more than that. We capture over 175,000 gallons, which is 23,000 cubic feet in runoff. Another part of the findings was also had to do with the IA systems. So this existing property has, in some cases, no septic tanks and just cesspools in which the effluent goes into the ground and goes straight into the groundwater. As part of the findings, an IA system had to be installed. That's an innovative system, and
Council said you're going to do one per unit. There's no grouping. It's
Correct.
one per unit.
correct. So over the past 5 years, the health department has done numerous studies, and they've actually selected 5 systems that they're approved, and we're using HydroAction, which is one of the approved systems. And with that said, correct, every single unit will have one. Just to give you what that means is in a normal system or a system that exists today, that's 65 milligrams per liter of nitrogen that goes into the ground. A typical conventional system averages between 40 and 50 milligrams per liter of nitrogen. The max nitrogen that will be into the water now is going to be 19. And this is done through an anaerobic digester.
I would assume that the water that's being collected that you talked about is due to the fact that you'll be putting in roadways and paved surfaces, and those will be designed to funnel the water that is coming onto them into some sort of a place. But where is the water that you're capturing going? Are you going to have a drainage pond, or?
So the stormwater system we're placing right now is a series of catch basins that collect the water and then go into dry wells, which leach into the ground. Groundwater is approximately 28 feet. And due to the material there, it's sandy, and it's able to filter before it actually gets to the aquifer. And that's how the drainage is captured. On the sanitary side, the effluent goes into this system, IA system, which then is injected with oxygen that creates an anaerobic digestion system, and then the effluent is that much cleaner that goes into a leaching structure.
You're installing dry wells to capture the initial storm surge of 150,000 gallons or whatever you said it was.
So the storm water is that's rainwater. So anything that's hitting the ground will go into the grass. We have inlets that collect and grade towards that. In the roadway, there's catch basins. That is the drainage system. The sanitary system that's actually coming from the bathrooms is the IA
That
system.
drainage system and the catch basins is new construction that you're going to be providing.
Correct, sir. So overall, it's a 62% less nitrogen discharge that will be going into the ground. With the landscaping, as previously mentioned, we have a lot of existing vegetation around us, but what we are doing is we are adding a double row of evergreens that's going to further screen. And one of the larger things is this remaining of the vegetation in this area, as well as the landscaping that will come along the curved roadway that will create not being able to see. There are spruces, arborvitaes, and cedars.
Who's doing that? Is that you guys are doing? You have
The
a
applicant,
contract?
yes. As well as landscaping around the units and the interior landscaping.
So you don't have a landscape architect?
Yes.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
we have a landscape architect. He's in the audience if you have any specific questions.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure, of course. So, and then in conclusion, we did submit already to the health department We have received some comments back for them. We're addressing their comments. The biggest thing is that we also have approval for 6,950 gallons per day, and we're actually coming in below the grandfathered amount of 6,125 gallons per day.
Grandfathered from what the latch has been historically. I mean,
Correct, sir.
we're dealing partly, I will editorialize at this point on what council has said, our own advisor has said. We are dealing with a change of non-conforming use, which we are being told is for the better for the village. So that's kind of the...
Correct.
So when you say grandfather, there's been a history here that is relevant to us. Non-conforming to non-conforming. That's why. So you're dealing that over what was shown for the latch, which was operated in a different basis. If you were doing it brand new, what's the hurdle? Do you have any idea? It's probably an unfair question, but
I'd have to get back
it's
to you.
what to what, that's all.
Well, from the sanitary standpoint, we would be able to put in a conventional system. And a conventional system wouldn't be removing as much nitrates as what we're doing today.
But we're also aware for the community that there's a real push on to not do conventional systems, certainly
Absolutely.
anywhere near the greater Agawam thing. So what you're doing when we did the environmental work before made a lot of sense. It may not have been overwhelmingly, which counsel likes to use when he argues. I understand that. That's why he's good counsel. But it made a lot of sense, and it's happening all around the village. So that part, we think, is a responsible thing to do. I just wondered if this was a vacant lot or somebody, and you were getting rid of houses or something, it may be better than what was at the latch. So it'd be nice to know, maybe Patrick can advise someplace. So what's the story? Everybody's really eager to do this on the larger scale for the village, and especially anything near the center of the village. So you guys are right there. Yes, you're up the hill, but this captures even more attention because it's right there.
Right. And that's why, as part of the findings, that was due to, PW Grosser has done a lot of studies, on Lake Agawam. And one of their studies that they had provided was that you take the initiative and do this upstream, which is where we are. And that's why we are consistent.
Great idea. We're just sitting here to get as many facts as we can get, publicly and otherwise, so that we're making as sound a decision as we can.
Understood.
If you remember the background of this, the board, there was an insistence of the board that we install the IA systems because we are outside the proposed sewer district that the village is working on now. And then that was also a part of the ZBA decision to continue that.
Thank you. Yeah, we get, on other applications, Council, we're made aware of that program. It's not quite as black and white as we all want it to be, because everyone needs it improved.
But it's black and white here.
Our decision isn't necessarily black and white in terms of all the inputs we get. So, and Agawam had a bad summer, so everybody's more aware of there's a mission.
Understood. And I think what you'll find here is, as you go through the secret findings that you did back in September in 2017, as well as what we did through the Zoning Board of Appeals, is that this project is still consistent with all the findings that you found back then. And not only consistent, but exceeding a lot of those initial findings of what you had determined back then.
And I can editorialize, for me, that's good news. If it got worse, that's another issue, but that's important.
And I think that's what we're trying.
Patrick has documented a whole range of things that are improvement that look favorable, so that's good.
And I think that's what we're trying to show you tonight, not only, where we were and where we are, but also the fact that the findings that were found, there's no new information, there's nothing new to this project. In fact, it's all beneficial to what you've already seen. And with that, I'm going to pull Bob Eschbacher up to talk a little bit about trapping.
Okay. And grandfather.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Robert Eschbacher. I'm a principal with VHP Engineering. As you've heard, the site plan has undergone several significant changes during its review process with the village. The current plan reduces the number of units from 24 to 19, plus the Terry Cottage. and reflects these changes. All of these changes have improved the project and further lessened the possible impacts associated with it. What I'd like to do is address 3 of the elements required by the code with respect to the site plan review: access, interior circulation, and parking. And first of all, with respect to access, as you've heard from Ms. Riley, the plan has now been developed so that it will provide a new combined access roadway to the site, and this will replace the 2 existing driveways which are currently on the site, and both of the current driveways will be eliminated. When the site plan is complete, there'll be the 1 driveway. It has been specifically placed near the middle of the frontage in order to accomplish several things. First of all, to enable there to be a reduced visibility inside of the site, as was mentioned. And also, we wanted to move it further away from the adjoining properties. This has the effect of reducing the number of possible vehicular conflicts with cars turning in and out in close proximity to other driveways. And it also minimizes conflicts with those driveways as well. So this is a very beneficial result of these changes. With respect to interior circulation, the plan has been designed to provide 2-way traffic flow throughout the site. Parking will not be permitted along the on-site roadway in order for the traffic to flow smoothly. And based upon our review, it is our opinion that the interior circulation will be adequate for its intended use to service residents, visitors, deliveries, and service vehicles. Finally, with respect to parking, as you've heard, the plan now provides 66 parking spaces. 18 of these will be in driveways, 19 will be in garages, and 29 will be in areas off the main roadway, but functioning as off-street parking. The total of these is 66. Now, it's important to note that only 38 spaces are required by zoning, 2 spaces per unit for the 19 units. So with the 66 that we're providing on the site, it gives us 28 surplus spaces, more than we're required to have, which is really a 74% increase. This will help to address the concern raised by the zoning board about what happens if there's a party, a large gathering, and so on. So we can easily accommodate these on the site. In addition, directly on Hill Street, just east of our driveway, there are 7 striped angle spaces on Hill Street, which are available. There's a 2-hour parking limit between 9 in the morning and 6 in the evening. So late evening, when there's other functions going on, these would be available. In addition, right across the street on First Neck Lane, there are 23 striped spaces without restriction. These would also be available for any really, really unusual overflow that might take place. Overall, though, in summary, the parking will be very adequate to accommodate the needs of the site. In conclusion, it's my professional opinion that the proposed site plan, as revised and as presented to you this evening, will be adequate to serve the needs of the proposed development without adversing traffic or parking conditions in the surrounding area. I'll be pleased to answer any questions the board may have.
The part, my view is that the community, we're dealing with and everything gets approved here. That's a change to continue it. The latches never caught attention that we're aware of in February.
Sorry.
In February.
Yes.
But in the summer, people worry about everything, noise, partying, everything else. You've got the Southampton Inn next to you. So this is a good site to continue a non-conforming use if I want to make a judgment, because it's not like it's going into the Memorial Park or something like that. So the issue about parking, parties, people are going to come and party. Who knows who's going to use it, what it is. I think there's a view that this came up when we were doing secret too. There are a lot of ratios that get used externally for planning. School use, flushes, also you name it. But for a seasonal community, you got to put a little windage in all of those when they come. One thing that interests me is the code says we do very little stuff, but one of the 5 things the planning board is left doing in this village is MF multifamily stuff. So we've got this for multifamily as well as, the site plan review, which is one of the 5. What is kind of the ratio, and I talked to Patrick about this, of, say, and the village is wrestling with this, with parking all over the village. Where do you park? The disputes come before the trustees, we get some of them, everything else. Where do you park on and off a house and everything else? Bedrooms to parking. How many bedrooms do we have here? We have sites around there.
Sure.
So just density, this is just a larger question of sort of
Yes.
density for the neighbors, for the neighborhood.
The development will have 19 units,
Got that?
and they will all be 3 bedrooms. So we're going to have 57 bedrooms.
57?
57 bedrooms,
Thank
yes. And I did a little informal comparison, and when you look at the number of parking spaces per bedroom that are being provided on the site, I'm not worrying about anything on Hill Street,
No, the site.
we have more parking per bedroom
Okay.
than any of the other multifamily developments in the village.
Thank you. This is the kind of data that, we get disputes about the parking that's all that you just mentioned. We have neighbors coming to us and to the village trustees dealing with that parking you just mentioned. Who's doing it? This is a village issue because most people, I guess, have more cars right now. I mean, this happens.
The apples-to-apples comparison is there were 84 beds on site operating as part of the Latch operation. When it's completed, including the Terry Cottage, there'll be 61 beds. Yeah, that's the 4 plus the 57.
You sent an exhibit here. 84 was when it was before the zoning board. We did not get into the Latch, the old non-conforming use for comparison.
Including the Terry Cottage, there
It's
were
relevant.
84 beds.
84 beds
And
was
they
the count.
required us to go and count them, and the
Okay.
reduction is now to 61. And that's inclusive of the Terry Cottage.
Does that include, parenthetically, sir, the properties immediately behind this that were used in part from time to time as
That's a different property.
operations? They're different
yeah.
properties, different property between this property and Cooper's. The 84 was just what was in the lot, right?
Well, I'm not sure of the question. I think what you're getting at is, did the Whites use their personal residence as part of the Latch? I have no idea, and their
That didn't-
personal residence was not included.
That did not come, none of that came before your issues in dealing with this with the zoning board?
No.
I didn't
no.
come and listen to all of it. I heard some of your speeches, but not all of them.
Right. Their personal residence was never a part of the analysis in front
Okay,
of the zoning.
thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. More questions? No?
Just, if I could,
No, I'm fine with everything so far.
Thank you.
Stephen Dubb, who's one of the principals, would just like to address you, I think, on some of the questions that were raised during.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Stephen, welcome back. Nice to see you again.
Good to be back. Missed you guys. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of points that Courtney made. So you brought up the existing vegetation in the trees. So we'll make, and our plan is to make every effort to keep any existing mature tree that we can. And what we would do is prune them so they look better than they do in their current state. And then some of the undergrowth
That'll help.
yeah. So it'll be a lot better looking when we're done with it than it is today. On the issue of parking and, the tug and back and forth between having too much parking and not enough green, if it was the board's suggestion, I think we'd be happy to land bank a few of the parking spots that we show on the plan. But on the other hand, if you're concerned about parking, then I think we have more than adequate parking, so we'd leave it the way it is. I also want to make the point that the driveways and the main road in the community are not asphalt. They're planned to be oil and stone, so it'd either be natural stone or gray gravel. So I don't want you picturing this being an asphalt driveway down the middle of the Latch property. And then on the drainage, I'm not sure if it was clear, but because there's no existing drainage system on the property now, and the property is not containing all of its water, some of that is escaping the property onto Hill Street, presumably going down towards Lake Agawam. So we won't solve the Lake Agawam problem on our own, but certainly installing the on-site drainage system that we're planning, which would keep all the stormwater on site and not let it go down towards the lake, would help that problem. So I just wanted to clarify those things.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, by
I
the way,
like the idea of land banking some parking.
what does that mean?
That means you don't build it out, but you reserve the area that if the planning board ultimately in the future decides that you need the parking, we would then be required through a covenant to go and provide that.
Well, my own view would be, giant, whatever people want to do, for me, it's all the issue for the residents that are all set these laws and want to do is, I guess the phrase that comes to mind best, sir, is density. It's how much traffic is this going to cause on and off, in and out of the center? And we need to make an informed judgment. If it's going to be more than having one house there, I mean, and the Latch has done it, you know, if you give a big party at the Latch or something for the hospital, it'll be lots of people. That's somebody else's problem. But it's the density issue.
Well,
You made it smaller, wonderful.
my
Comparing
response,
the two non-conforming uses.
so my response is threefold. One, the ZBA's made the determination. We're entitled to the use and we're entitled to that number of units. Two, the traffic that will be produced from this site, and we have the engineer here, and if I was listening correctly,
Yep.
there's going to be less of an impact with the Latch use as the condos as opposed to the hotel inn use.
We'd love to hear all the data. You bet. Wouldn't that be nice?
You've made it, my third point is, you've already made that determination.
No, we have not. We're now making the determination for what the first time, we didn't know where this would end up. We now have it back. It's very nice. Thank you. But this traffic study we had said it would be okay at Moses Lane. I read it 4 or 5 times. That's nice. But Moses Lane is the furthest street up, the first street you can turn if you're coming from the west to get to the post office. There are 3 streets there, and there are people coming out of the village who start at the hospital every evening. I mean, the library every evening, just to get to the reservation. These are the issues that people
This was a
focus on.
This was a comprehensive traffic analysis, and I will read from your finding statement, which I believe was a 5-0 vote. The planning board finds that the project will not result in an appreciable increase in trip generation rates from the subject property, will not cause any consequential worsening of the level of service at surrounding intersections, or of roadway operating conditions. No significant adverse traffic impacts will result from the proposed project. This isn't the project sponsor saying that. This is you. That's been asked and answered.
When we went through the process, that was the conclusion
certainly
we
did.
drew as one of the items of the 15 or 16 that go into a secret study. I couldn't agree with you more. But we now have got the parking spaces, the density, and the people, and for a seasonal, non-conforming use, it is our burden, I hope, to make a responsible decision
Right.
with all the factors. And traffic is one that is increasingly important to the village.
Right. But you've answered that. The zoning board answered it exactly the same way when they did their finding statement.
We love the company. Thank you.
Right, so that's been asked and answered. If you want to talk about interior circulation, access, or parking on site, those are fair site plan issues, but the traffic question's been asked and answered with all due respect.
I understand. It's very nice to have one driveway, too. There are lots of features to this that are coming back to us now and making this judgment. So thank you for bringing them. I appreciate it.
Right. The last point that I'd like to make, and again, we can answer any questions, and I talked a little bit about the fiscal impact, but in the finding statement that the zoning board did, they broke that down to numbers. At the time that they did the analysis, the property taxes were $48,352. The estimate on the taxes being generated from that property after it's completed and sold out was $445,157. So there's an enormous positive fiscal impact here. And I happen to know the numbers, I didn't have to add it up, but it's $396,805 under
Thank you.
that analysis.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
again, we have...
Council, that's very nice. Appreciate the math.
So we have our whole team here. We can answer any more questions. We'd ask you to make a finding that the plan as amended is consistent with your finding statement, one, and then we'd like to get through the site plan process. So if you can send us over to the ARB, we would appreciate that so we can get through that part of the process, and then any other referrals that you feel is necessary.
I mean, well, the ARB, the ARB's aware of this, and they will get it next when we finish, right?
I don't know what you mean by they are aware of it. There's no application pending in front
No,
of the
not
ARB
before,
at the
that's what I
moment.
mean. That happens, the applicant makes an application. Thank you.
My understanding, and we talked about this at the work session, was that you were going to refer it, and that's part of the process, referring it over.
Well, that's sort of my question. There's an issue as to us.
What do you mean, I'm going to
moving
refer it?
part-
The board is going to refer it. When I say
planning-
you, I mean the board,
Like
not you
like to clarify.
personally.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the, that's being studied. I'm sorry to
Why
put
would,
this.
why would you just not want to submit an application?
We'll submit an application.
Yeah, I
It
think
was our
that's what I thought.
understanding that you were going to
Yeah.
refer it over, but we'll do that.
Yeah. I'm sorry to give you more work, but we keep being told that we don't do it. We're not proponents. We do our review and they do their review. There's a big issue on the simultaneous review. It's a village issue, not for us, but this is part of our procedures.
My understanding
you.
was they were a referral agency, but we'll make the application, get
Thank
it
you.
in front of them.
Okay. All right, does anyone else here like to ask questions, complain? Please step forward, anyone who would, and identify yourselves for the record, since the, in addition to the minutes that
Hold in here now.
Antoinette takes, we have the video, so
What it
please.
was, but I'm...
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Marilyn Goldberg. I'm a resident of Bishop's Pond, built by Beechwood, and I just wanted to speak on behalf of the residents of Beechwood. I personally have built and lived in homes from Montauk Point to East Moriches and back. I have several homes now and have never been happier than in the Beechwood community that I'm living in for the last 2 years, which caused me to move out of the city. I highly recommend that this get approved because there are so many people here who would love the opportunity to have the city and the country at the beach, which means that you could live in Southampton, walk to the restaurants, support the galleries, support the cultural center, and be part of the community without having to drive everywhere and be involved in traffic. Further, in addition to what all of these gentlemen have spoken about with regard to the traffic and the parking, as a resident of Beechwood, there are no problems with parking. 99% of the people in these condominiums do not have all 3 bedrooms filled at the same time. Maybe 3 or 4 weekends of the summer, but most of the time there's only one couple in there or a singular person who may have visitors on occasion. So I don't think that the parking is going to be a problem. And I'm very much in favor. I have no obligation to do this at all except to say that the community has been so well handled by Beechwood. And the residents there are so happy living in that community that anything that can be done to support their cause, I would be happy to be involved with. I think that it's going to be a wonderful asset to Southampton. I am very much in the art, exhibition, and interior design business out here and all over the world, and I feel that having the access to the cultural activities going on in Southampton and being that close is going to bring Southampton wonderful business, wonderful restaurant reviews, and wonderful new happenings for the community. So I highly recommend you consider being as easy on them as you possibly can. Thank you.
Could you please give your name again?
My name is Marilyn Goldberg. My company is
Marilyn Goldberg.
villamarilyn.com.
Thank you. Okay.
I've been building and designing houses out here for many, many years. My family moved out here since I was 3.
Thank you for your
I
comment.
highly
Thank you,
recommend
ma'am.
it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening,
Whitefield,
members of the
I'll bet.
board. My name is Katerina Grinkov, 2 Latham, 51 Hill Street, Southampton. I'm appearing on behalf of Whitefield
Whitefield.
Condominium.
Good.
Yes.
Nice to have you back.
We actually appearing in support of the application, which was heavily discussed during the Zoning Board of Appeals application process with the applicant, and we agreed to support the application on condition that a covenant is imposed. And I just would like, for the record, outline the restrictions we would like to be imposed within this covenant. that the number of dwelling units on the Village Latch parcel shall not exceed 19 dwelling units. The applicant shall install and maintain a 6-foot-high decorative wood fence along the common boundary line between the Whitefield and the applicant parcel. The applicant shall install and be required to maintain landscaping along the common boundary line between Whitefield and the applicant's parcel. And then unit owners shall be prohibited from installing any structures, patios, decks, pools, spas, or lighting within the 35-foot side yard setback area on the west, on the Whitefield side of the parcel. And then that the covenant and restrictions shall run with the land and be for the benefit of the Village of Southampton and the owner of the Whitefield property. And we believe that this request is not unreasonable considering the proposal, and if the board and the applicant still agree with this proposition, we would be happy to continue support this project. And I just would like to submit a letter for the record.
Okay.
Can you add to that covenant that you're going to do the same in the back as far as no patios being built or light structures or anything? I know that that's not part of your jurisdiction, but I'm just throwing it out there that that would be nice to know for the people that live back there, that there's not going to be a lot of lights. There's already some lighting issue in that neighborhood.
That's to the applicant question, I believe, not to you.
Yes.
Yeah, not to you. I'm just saying, I'm so glad to hear what you're doing, but I'm saying that would be great
Whitefield is the western border. Okay, our question would be, of course, to council or the applicant, is this an understanding? Was this a condition of the zoning board? I mean, what posture is it in, sir?
Those factors were part of the ZBA approval that we agreed
Okay.
to those.
No, I just wanted the status from you. You're the applicant.
And it's
Thank you for your
acceptable.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about
Thank
what can
you.
happen in the backyard. We needed relief at one point to get
Right.
part of that process, so we'll take a
Okay.
look at it.
All right, thank you very much.
Bo, you will review that in purpose of the satisfactory for the
I'm not
village?
sure what any of that means. I mean, was this a condition of the approval by the Board of
It's a
Appeals?
condition of the zoning board approval.
Well, then
We'll prepare a covenant.
why didn't they ask for the covenants to be recorded?
I can't answer for what the zoning board did.
Well,
but
what does the decision say?
The decision says that that will be a condition that will be put on further in the process through the site plan process, which we'll do. We'll prepare a
So the
covenant.
Board of Appeals is asking the planning board consider those covenants.
Well, I mean, they're not asking you to consider. They said there had to be a covenant and a part of this approval.
What approval? The Board of Appeals approval or the
Yes,
planning board?
that's what we're
approval?
talking about. The Board of Appeals approval said it had to be a part of the planning board's site plan approval.
So it's a condition of site plan approval?
It will
I mean,
be.
we have to get it in the right
Yes,
pigeonhole.
and we'll prepare it and submit it.
Thank you.
Take a
And if
look.
it is our council, we'd like him to please review it, because it seems to involve the village.
To know what the 6-foot fence on the common property line has to do with the village of Southampton.
It was part of the screening that
Let me-
allowed us to get the relief that we were looking for.
Katrina said she wants a part of the covenant to say it benefits the people of the village of Southampton, right? Did you not just say that?
Well, for the end, Whitefield.
Well, what does the fence along the common property line have to do with the village of Southampton?
It's to allow,
Let her answer the question.
well, I'm the one, we're the
Well, I'm
applicant.
addressing her, sir.
And I'm in a position to answer it because...
I am not
the
asking you to
applicant's
answer it.
lawyer. I have the answer.
If the issue with the fence could be particular,
Yeah, please, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
we were in agreement with the applicant that there will be a fence erected between the two parcels.
Well, why don't you have an agreement with the applicant?
Right, but we would like it to be part of the covenant.
What does the covenant of a common fence between the property lines have to do with the people of the village of Southampton?
That particular paragraph can be specifically for the benefit of the Whitefield condominium.
Are there any others that are specifically for the benefit of Whitefield?
Specifically would be maintaining the landscaping along the common boundary between the Whitefield and the subject parcel, because that's strictly to separate the two properties. I believe the rest would be for the benefit, for the overall benefit of the community.
Why does the planning board want to get involved in a covenant that involves the common fence or the landscaping?
Well, because it's for the benefit of the community.
We just said it's not for the benefit of the community. You just said it was the benefit of Whitefield.
Right, so I believe we can work with the applicant on the 2 points, on the 2 conditions, and then on the rest, as far as restricting the use to 19 units, I believe that's something in the interest of the entire community, so that could be for the benefit of the village.
Well, what I suggest is that you get together with the applicant, and if your organization or client wishes to have this considered, that you draft up an agreement with the applicant and submit it as a common agreement that's agreeable to both of you, and then the board can consider that.
We'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Then it can be reviewed in our approval. And Jane, you have a question as to whether it could be extended
Ma'am,
for
so
the
you had a
north
question
end. The north end. Her question was for the north end. Could the exterior use be extended, not just on the west side, but on the north side?
Understood. And I believe you had some questions as well.
Well, I just like that idea that you weren't able to do anything on that whole side to benefit Whitefield, so I said maybe that should be also added to the back of the property.
Understood. So I actually have a site plan here that actually goes through that. And just to reiterate, hopefully you could pull it up there so she could see, so everyone could see. Again, that double row of evergreens is along Whitefield. It's also along on the other side as well.
It wasn't the landscaping so much as I like the idea of lighting and patios not being able to be added. So that was, I just wanted to make sure you understood what my point was. Okay.
Absolutely. And so we submitted a photometrics plan back in October. It's part of our site plan package. It shows that there will be no light, not only leaving that site, but within that 35-foot buffer along any of those residences, including the rear of the property as well.
Thank you.
We also went to, took photos and did a profile view of the rear of the property. I was listening to the work session. I heard that you had some concerns about where those patios are placed and with the noise and what that lighting would look like. And what we did is we took from that home and we went to, there's a deck there. There's also a second floor.
Wait, which home are you talking about now? The home right behind the present Village Latch? Okay.
The home you were just...
Okay, so you're not right behind your over a little bit. Okay. We call that the White House. Okay.
So during the work session, you had a question on this particular house.
Well, no, I was looking at just that whole side there for the benefit of the people, not necessarily just that house.
Understood. And I think one of the things we had mentioned is that we had added additional landscaping. And what we did is we also looked at the landscaping on their side as well. Some of the larger mature trees are over 45 feet in height. We are also, there's also a 15-foot hedge line that exists there today. And we took into account in the photometrics plan submitted back in October that there would be no light in that area. I think also your point too was to look at the patios and to see if we could do something about the patios. One of the patios has been moved to the side and not into the rear, and there's something that we could certainly look at during the site plan improvement process on those patios.
Thanks, and I'm not really worried about what you are doing. I'm just saying if you're making a covenant where someone who owns the condo can't go and do that, that's the part that I thought was appealing.
It's not a covenant, that's the zoning setback.
Okay,
So we're not allowed to do anything in
Okay.
there. It's sort of a belt-in suspenders requirement from
Fine.
Whitefield. That's how that came around. And we're certainly happy to take a look. I know Michael Dubb would like to address you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael Dubb, Beechwood Organization.
Yes, sir.
Couple of things that have been raised, and I think we really got into semantics. We had several meetings with the people from Whitefield, and all we want to do is be good neighbors and get to a place that they're happy and we're happy. As such, we agreed to install a fence along their property, and I will wrap that around to the north end of the property too. The semantics of how we get there, there's a lot of ways we can get there. Because it's a homeowners association, all the information is put forth in the offering plan. It's actually, we have an area right at the front called special risk. Even though it's not a special risk, we will spell out that it is incumbent and the responsibility of our HOA to maintain the fence that we, as the builders, will install. In terms of the landscaping, we met with them, and I have no issues accommodating to the same level of what we're doing for Whitefield with what's behind us.
Well, Mr. Dodd, actually, I don't really care for the fencing concept.
Okay.
It was
It's what
just-
they wanted.
I understand, but I'm just saying, what I heard was you can't change your patio, you can't do lighting, that sort of thing is what I said, oh, that
Yeah, no,
is what appealed to me, and I don't know about a fence, so.
Okay, no problem. So what happened in the evolution, originally our buildings were 25 feet off of Whitefield. They were never that close on the northern end, but we redesigned the buildings to get them 35 feet off. And since they're two-unit buildings, we indicated that any patio would be in the side, not the rear, to afford Whitefield more space. We can certainly do that with the two of the three end units. In terms of the lighting, we would have no reason to put anything other than, a single switch real light behind a home, so if somebody opens a door at night, they can say hello to the deer. So, I mean, that's easy enough for us to do.
Right, I understand completely.
Yeah, and the other point that I kind of wanted to elaborate on, and it's been discussed, and maybe it's over-discussed, so if you want me to stop, I'll stop, is the environment. As I mentioned to you at work session, I come from a landscape background, and it's a great country because now I'm building this big development. I was a landscaper. I never went to college. It's all good. That's what's supposed to happen here. But in that, I never lost my environmental feel for things. So I can tell you firsthand, I live in West Hampton. I live on the mainland side of the bay, and I very much don't enjoy looking at the bay turn green over the summer due to nitrogen loading. I, in fact, I built my house 22 years ago. I'm taking out my septic system this summer and putting in one of those septic systems that the Suffolk County Health Department just said, like the ones we're building here, because I want to do my part to not see the bay turn green. I have a very good friend who has one of the biggest houses on Agawam Bay, and I visit him, and I didn't like what I saw in Agawam Bay. So coming from the environmental point of view, I know, unfortunately, what happens, and the village is old, so it wasn't designed for these codes. Cars drive up and down the streets, oil leaks out, refuse, garbage, whatever, the dogs, whatever's out there, the rain picks it up and brings it to Agawam Bay. It won't, and so we assume everybody knows our business, our business when we're talking to you. So what happens with these dry wells that collect the water is they don't go down to the water table. They go down, I'm going to pull a number out of the air so don't hold me to it, of 12 feet. They collect the water. The sand acts as a filter so these things don't get into the groundwater table at the same rate. We have a situation here where, we have a chance to take 5 acres that is contributing to the pollution of the pond and get it off. We have a chance to take septic systems that are going right into the ground now and get it off. And, it's my environmental bent that says, I really want to do this. Now, I'm not saying for every push there's a pull. You build a house, maybe you create something else, but these are the issues, and I just want to see clear water wherever we go. So that's my piece on both the landscaping and the environment. If there's anything else I can answer, not from the point of view of a lawyer, but in English, No offense, please ask
Do
me.
you understand my issue with this?
Yes, yeah, and
What-
so-
What is it?
Your issue is, this is between you and Whitefield.
yeah.
Why are you burdening the town with
Right.
it? And I'm saying we will, A, put in the title, we will give Whitefield all the comfort they need to get them where they're going. They were good neighbors, we developed a relationship, and I just want to be a good neighbor to them. I completely understand your issue. And you're
That
saying,
is the issue.
yeah, why burden me with this? This is between two neighbors. I completely get it. I'll give them all the comfort plus some that they need, as well as on the north end.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Sure,
you.
I'm sure they'll let the board know if you don't.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are too many legal mechanisms. Okay, anything else?
That reduces one of them.
Okay.
Are there provisions in the agreement the homeowner agrees to when he purchases the property to prohibit them from adding on to their structure?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. In an HOA, anything beyond your walls is owned by the common area, and the bylaws of the offering plan specifically state no alterations, no extensions, no nothing. You can't even paint your front door a different color. And that's just condo life. It's what you sign up for, but you also sign up for carefree living and,
If the lawyer asks, can that be changed by a majority, then what do you do? I mean, how do you,
well,
there's a great law of homeowner stuff, which I don't want to get into, but
yeah.
it's, I agree it'll start very well.
Yeah.
Then the question is, so if everybody gets together, everybody gets together, you can change blockchain, I'm told, if you get enough people, so.
Yeah. Well, under our zoning application, they would have to come before the village to get that. What we give is what they get.
That's fine.
No alterations, no alterations amongst the people who live there, much like there will be language about maintaining the fence that Whitefield's asked for, and we're prepared to put on the northern boundary, as well as the patio and light restrictions.
Thanks. I
Okay.
don't know if we need a fence, but
Well, I personally like a green fence, but that's me.
whatever.
Okay,
Fine,
anything else
thank you.
I can answer?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else like to make any comments, suggestions, improvements?
I'd just like to say, within the packets that you have, there's plenty of photos to also aid you. I know, I'm sure, again, you stopped at the site, but within
we
that
have-
packet.
yeah, we have-
Absolutely. You
Thank
have more than enough photos as well.
Well, the
to
fe-
look
the
at
fence
what
was
we
down, I
described.
took the liberty of walking through it. To go look at every piece, every bed, and every dying tree. The maintenance level is near zero.
And
Sorry.
understood.
That's my
And
personal
you'll
view.
see, and as Mr. Dubs said, that they will certainly take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so the three of us go forward to it.
Well, the first part is, I think, that we have to agree that the
So you have two decisions.
revised plan meets SECRA.
Correct.
Yeah,
Doesn't exceed
we
the
have-
prior findings that were adopted.
Yeah.
So you heard the applicant's testimony with
Yes.
respect to that. And the other issue that you're being asked to consider is amending the site plan or approving the site plan. So, Jane, the issue of the fence needs to be addressed. Is there a fence or not a fence? You're approving that plan. All of this discussion about these private agreements between the HOA and the homeowners and the neighbors really aren't your issues.
That's
They're
right.
private issues.
I don't think so.
Whether there's a fence on the plan we approve, that needs to be addressed.
Right, okay. Thank you. Is anybody else have any
Council,
speak?
you have
Until your other members have a chance to review this, and you have, I would suggest you adjourn it for all purposes.
Yeah, we have
I'd like to
one
just hear
missing member.
from Patrick, if you could give, you've studied this, my own personal opinion is if the plan that's before us is lesser in most respects and nearly all respects to what we've already done, that it is, but I'd like to just, I'm not the expert on it.
So
Could
the
you,
applicant has documented that, in fact, in every aspect, the plan is less impactful than the previous plan. So I think it falls well within the thresholds that you established previously in your finding statement that you adopted in 2017.
Thank you. Thank
So the
you.
mechanism by which we will reaffirm that, we'll talk to Bo.
Pam was unable to wait for her to make a
I'm not
decision.
sure when she's coming back, but
So, Mr. Chairman, the mechanism that you will reaffirm that finding statement, we'll talk to council about the best vehicle for that, whether we re-adopt the document or some supplement to that or a resolution. We can handle that on how you mechanically take care
Well,
of
there are
that.
two, as I understand it, there are two resolutions that are
That's right,
appropriate
site
for us to
plan
make.
and what form the seeker
One
decision
is the
take.
revision is still satisfactory for the secret thing that we determined, and we'll reaffirm, because that's probably important for also. And then secondly, Bo, the second motion would be to close the hearing and approve the site plan.
Ultimately, yes. Well, you'll probably close the hearing before you approve the site plan, but I'm suggesting at the moment, since you have two members absent and
Only one.
you haven't had
Only one, only Pam.
one member absent,
One member
one
absent.
voting member absent, that you may want to consider keeping it open, but it's up to you.
And she's been quite concerned about it because she lives near, knows the area very, very well, almost as well as Jane does. Our neighbor, what do you think? Should we wait for Pam to come back or I'd be inclined to approve it. What do you think?
I'd be inclined to approve it.
We'll wait for Pam, what do you think?
So the only advice, Mr. Chairman, that I would offer is if you close the public hearing, you have a statutory obligation to render the decision within a certain period of time.
Then the clock
starts to tick.
ticks. We have what, Bo, 30 days? How many days do we have?
30.
30 days? So we do it at the,
I
plus or minus a
think you should
business.
wait until Pam has the opportunity to comment. You asked my opinion.
That's why I'm
let's do that.
talking
Let's
to
wait
Jane
for
about
Pam,
it. And,
yeah.
you know,
I'm
'cause
fine,
she
wait
was
for Pam.
quite concerned. That's why I'm checking with my fellows. Ladies, okay. So let's, do we know she'll be here next
I
month?
don't know her schedule.
She's going to be here at the end of the month, yeah.
Is she back by the end of the
End
month?
of the month, yeah, she's going for 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
So by motion, you should adjourn the public hearing.
Yeah, if we could do that. Council, we have this one affiliated, living right there. Remember, if she's be back at the next meeting, can we adjourn for her review with us?
The one thing I would say is she did vote to approve the finding statement that you did adopt, so I think you have
I
a
understand.
telegraph on that issue, and then you can adjourn the site
No,
plan.
I know that. Yes, she was with us on all the review, all the
But
secret
yes.
review especially, but,
We can adjourn for 30 days.
okay. Motion, whether you want to-
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion at the request of the applicant to adjourn Beechwood Latch to the
Public hearing,
subsequent,
adjourn the public hearing.
the public hearing to the March 1 meeting of the planning board.
I second it.
Okay, I'm in favor.
I
Okay. Thank you. We will, March 1, I will be here. Okay. Thank you, VHB, for your submission. Great details. This is a serious set of papers. I've read the drainage and the ditches and the access. It's a great piece of work. Thank you for your patience, sir.
It's all right, it's quiet. No kids back there.
Thank you. Oh, I know. We have to get a TV back here, so we put a small TV, don't you?
Thank you.
I'll do it. Thank you, sir.
I'm going to see if I can be excused now.
Yes.
We're not voting on anything.
I don't think we're not
Is there anything
voting
else?
yet.
Everything else is
Yeah, my
adjourned, right?
Maximum sympathies.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
to
you.
Judy, sorry.
Yeah, oh my goodness, it's just like
This morning, yesterday?
Tell her
Saturday.
our
Oh, I definitely will, I definitely will.
sympathies and thoughts, especially with her. It's just not, this is not good planning. Tell her, this is just not what you're supposed to do.
Well, ironically, we all actually thought he was,
I think if it goes down as a condo,
that's what happens.
they're not taxed.
I'm with you.
Never out of the woods.
They'll own the HOA. The HOA doesn't own the...
Jeopardy we don't want
If
to
you don't
share.
mind, I'm gonna go
Well,
because
we ought to double check that to make sure they don't weasel out.
everything else is adjourned, right? I know if you're
What
gonna,
do we have to get?
What else?
Patrick, thank you. What do we have, BRL?
what is,
you've got a tennis court adjourned, you've got John Danielson
Gil- what's
adjourned.
Gil here for?
You've got Hampton's HTA is really all that's left.
North City Road, McDonald's, Cal?
116.
All right,
Okay, so let's hear about McDonald's. I thought it said closed.
we've got,
Right? Hankins HCA, isn't that the?
okay, we've done Beechwood Latch.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Are you going through the calendar?
What, I'm looking at this right now.
Okay.
We have Chickamauga that has been adjourned till the next work session. Danielson is before the ZBA. We have Hampton's HDA
Where do you stand with that?
are you here for Hampton's HDA, Gil?
I don't think I have to say anything
I
about it.
don't either.
I think what you're waiting for is for Kathy Eisman to work up some conditions, and they've asked for some engineering details for us,
Yeah.
which we're working on, so I don't expect to have to do anything until we submit the engineering
Yeah,
information.
okay. And the only other thing I'm aware, there was what I will call with ruthless summary, don't call me to every word. There were issues of vis-à-vis the village with the drainage and all the stuff that was agreed with letter, all that sort of stuff.
That's what we'll work, that's largely.
That's what she's working, because I was going to tell her if she was here, I pick up from at least one notification. If anything is done, they want to have a provision so that your client gives them notice, they don't find out about it later. You know, anything they want to change, like the driveway, or anything if the village wants to do to change the zoning on that piece of land, there'll be some system of mutual notice is what I hear. I don't know what.
I'm not quite sure I
Kathy's
follow you, unfortunately.
Well, if let's say the client wants to move the driveway.
Oh, we'd have to come back to you anyway, we'd have to come back to the village if we wanted to move that.
Well, the issue was the drainage underneath it. You remember you put, there were going to be things of wells.
Yep.
You have the bright caps. It drains the right way.
That's all of that.
There's apparently an engineering issue that there may be more problems of drainage to the east, not the west.
We're actually going to provide for additional drainage to be put
Yeah,
in there.
that's what I heard.
That's all part of it, yeah.
The only issue I've heard of is sort of the mechanical one. How does it get done? Will somebody call the village engineer up in advance of anybody, or you, but mutual agreement that nothing's going to happen to give notice? That was the only issue I've heard, and maybe Kathy's working on it.
No question about any of that. We'd have to do that anyway, since it's a
Yeah.
village right-of-way. We'd have to talk to Gary Gillespie.
Okay.
So that's not an issue.
That's the only thing I heard, Bo, that was some notion that the approval have some provision for adequate notice among the parties if any of this is going to take place.
It's all worked out through the building department.
I understand.
All right, then that answers the question.
We don't have to get involved, but just.
We assumed we'd be doing that anyway. We assumed it, so it's
Okay.
not an issue.
Sorry she's not here, but thank you. Okay, McDonald's is still waiting for the zoning board of appeals. We have this, the one I'm not involved in is being adjourned, and Cal's is still.
As I've reviewed
Okay.
I've reviewed the covenants today, and several substantive changes have to be made. I'm be in contact with Mr. Bennett's office to
On the
affect
covenants.
them, and hopefully we'll have a agreeable document available for the board, or available for me to represent to the board that they've been approved by the village attorney at the next meeting.
These are the covenants of the redivision, whatever it is, right?
Re-subdivision, correct.
Re-subdivision. Thank you.
Concerns the unified use of the land and the retention of an accessory structure on the adjoining lot, which has no main residence.
That's right. Yeah. I think it's a pool house.
Pardon?
I thought it was a pool house.
Swimming pool.
Yeah. Okay. We have minute approvals for, I think I've edited them all, and we don't have copies to review here now, but does anyone have concerns that which ones they can approve? I was not at one of those meetings. I think I missed the November 26th meeting. So I can't vote on that one. November 5? I'll entertain a motion that we
I
approve.
make a motion to approve the minutes as written of November 5, 2018.
Yes.
Seconded, okay.
Aye.
Aye. November 26 is not for me to vote on.
Yeah.
Motion.
Are we going to bundle, are there any,
Let's just-
I guess you can't vote on November 26th.
I can't vote on
so
26th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written for November 26, 2018.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
December 3, I can vote on. What's the others?
Here's January 7th
Let's do
right here.
December
Yeah.
3rd.
January 7th is here with us, if you want to read it, which is fine. I've had a chance to look at all of them to bring them up to speed, and Kathy has seen them all too. So, she's...
Through January 28th?
Yeah. I've edited all of them. If you guys haven't seen them, we can wait for you to review them further for
I'm
improvements.
fine up until January 7th.
Zach,
Okay.
are you good up until the 7th?
I'm good. Yep.
So I would then make a motion to approve December 3rd, 2018, and January 7th, 2019, the minutes as written.
I second it.
Seconded? Aye, in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we have January 28th. Take them with you when
Now
you
we can
can.
adjourn the meeting. then.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
So moved.
I second it.
Aye? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay.